Ed eccoci, ciao a tutti, ciao da Enzo. Ciao Ezio, come stai? Sei mutato Ezio, togli il muto. Tranquillo, il bello della diretta. Salutiamo intanto gli amici che stanno salendo, siamo a una ventina di persone, così nel
Buonasera
frattempo
a
diamo a
tutti.
tutti. Ciao Ezio.
Good evening to everybody who follow us in English. So this meetup will be half in Italian and half in English, so and so. For the two part, presentation and introduction part by us, by Enzo and me, and the English part by Alejandro, our guest. So, ok, noi aspettiamo Alejandro, possiamo farlo entrare ora o dopo,
Sì,
oppure
sì,
Enzo?
no, vabbè, io direi facciamo la nostra presentazione. Hi to
Ok.
all. Only the first part will be in Italian, ok? Ciao a tutti. Allora, andiamo subito alla nostra presentazione e poi presentiamo Alejandro che sta qui dietro le quinte. Noi già lo vediamo per una super serata perché parliamo di web component. Poi ci darà tutto, ci spiegherà tutto Ezio. Io vado subito alla presentazione, diciamo, di The Community Space, che è il motivo per cui sono qui e sono contento di esserci insieme a Code Garden. Allora, The Community Space è un network di community in Italia, quindi non è una community di community, ma è un network di community di cui fa parte pure Code Garden Roma, anzi è una delle community più fedeli da cui stiamo facendo più eventi da un po' di tempo. Trovate, sto a quelli passati in realtà, io vi sto scorrendo il sito, l'home page, quindi se andate www.cmmbay.com, dove CMM sta per diminutivo di community, trovate un po' tutti gli eventi delle community che fanno parte del network. Quindi questi sono gli eventi in programma, ma se andate sul sito li trovate sempre aggiornati, ok? Abbiamo tante community che hanno fatto parte o stanno facendo parte dei community space. C'è pure qualche startup che ha partecipato. Questi sono, diciamo, i volontari che mi stanno dando la mano in questo progetto, quindi che saluto tutti. Sto andando molto veloce, tanto poi avete modo di curiosare sul sito direttamente. Ve lo mando rapidamente poi in impressione appena mi libero da questa piccola presentazione. Abbiamo dei partner che ci hanno ospitato nelle loro sedi quando si facevano gli eventi fisici, oppure che ci offrono o ci supportano con alcuni servizi che usiamo appunto per The Community Space. E poi qui c'è pure un'azienda che credo dal primo momento e che non è tutta del tutto nuova a Ezio, che è qui presente, giusto Ezio?
Sì, giustissimo, la conosco.
La conosce. In realtà, ecco, non diciamo altro, basta che andate a fare click, così capite perché Ezio conosce questa azienda, ok, che è Turing. Detto questo, io vi dico semplicemente seguite The Community Space perché troverete tantissimi meetup, quasi uno al giorno, tra cui tanti pure di Code Garden. Qui trovate il bottone dove, facendo click, trovate la landing page con tutti i canali veramente dove siamo presenti. E nulla, io ora lascio la parola a Ezio in modo tale che possa presentare Code Garden, possa presentare la serata, poi lasciamo spazio pure a Alejandro. Voglio solo ricordare un'ultimissima cosa, che proveremo a una sperimentazione, diciamo, cioè chi partecipa ai meetup di The Communities Bay, quindi delle community che man mano si alternano, avrà la possibilità di ricevere un attestato di partecipazione, ok? È un servizio che sto sviluppando direttamente io, quindi chiedo un po' di pazienza. Per poter ricevere questo attestato di partecipazione, mentre andiamo quindi con la diretta di Alejandro, manderò un link in impressione sotto, che è una sorta di registro di presenze da firmare per attestare quindi che voi state seguendo sul serio, che non state vedendo quindi la registrazione dopo. Quindi questo vale per questo primo meetup sperimentale, però poi, e ve ne daremo notizia, cercheremo di offrirlo come servizio per tutti i meetup che faremo con Code Garden e le altre community che vorranno. Io mi silenzio, vi mando tra poco i link, non vi preoccupate, e lascio la parola a Ezio.
Ok, let's start of Code Garden. Vado Enzo?
Vai, tutto tuo il palco.
Ok, benissimo. Qualcosa in inglese. We are Code Garden Roma. Thanks to we will thank you, Enzo and the Communities Bay, because Enzo is the house, the virtual house in which we are realizing this meetup online. So if there are other people that have some communities, can contact Enzo for this kind of network composition to realize Meetup online and other services with his services. So we are Code Garden Roma. What is Code Garden Roma? We are a tech community. Primarily built over the IT developer, and we was at the beginning the Java user group of Rome. So normally before the COVID pandemic, we will do several meetup in presence. So there are some photos about. So after the starting of the coronavirus diffusion, all the other meetup, our meetup, are transported on the online and streaming by YouTube. So what is a tech community? A tech community is an important thing to connect people working together, but over different companies from different stacks, technological stacks, but that can communicate to help one each other. So and also to share knowledge about the newest things, the newest frontiers of the software development. So we work and trace many development and many technologies like Java, Scala, Kotlin, but also other functional programming languages. So also, but also other front-end technologies. We are also interested in the methodologies on the other hand, so Agile, Kanban, Scrum, and the newest ones. So we are a center in Rome City, but if anybody want any information about us, I suggest to connect to the lower links tiny.cc/Codegarden to have to connect to any our social network. I suggest to subscribe to our LinkedIn group. So that's all. Questo è tutto, diciamo, è solo l'introduzione, perché fondamentalmente a quello che siamo un gruppo tecnologico che invita persone e ospiti importanti periodicamente per fare meetup e per fare rete tra persone che lavorano su contesti diversi. Brevissima questo è quanto, brevissima introduzione all'ospite di questa sera. Allora direi di chiudere le slide, magari fare entrare Alejandro.
Hello everyone.
Hi Alejandro.
Good evening. So Alejandro is a software engineer from Vaadin. Vaadin is a great framework, I think, that can be described from the presentation layer framework, web framework on the Java. I think first the number one by the use of the worldwide developer. in this case, if we don't count JavaScript and other things, other stuff this type. I want to only underline that the objective of Vaadin is very important, because the objective is to use a small number of technology of programming language to build the whole application. So also for the front end, it is possible to build the UI only programming, if you want, programming by Java. It's a great thing. It is like the purpose and the theoretical target proposed by Robert C. Martin, known as Uncle Bob. The objective of the unique language for all, but I don't want to move this discussion to a theoretical level, but we can remain to the implementation level. So I am very interested to the presentation of Alejandro. So Alejandro, tell us what you want about web components. The presentation is web components for Java developers. So let's tell to us for the start the presentation.
See you later.
See you later.
See you later. All right. So yeah, thanks for the introduction. It's going to be only English from now because my Italian is not that good. I really like Italian, by the way. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about web components like from two perspectives. Let's put it that way. So in the first part of this presentation, this talk, I'm going to show a little bit of JavaScript and HTML. And then in the second part of the talk, I'm going to show Java code, how to use all these concepts from Java. So I'm going to try to keep a perspective of Java developer. So I hope you learned something from these two parts of the presentation I have. So I think there's going to be something for everybody. So a little bit about myself. I'm the author of a couple of books on the topic and currently writing another one. Hopefully I can publish it next year around April. Let's see. But yeah, I work for Vaadin, which is a company that develops a couple of frameworks for web development. So one is called the Vaadin Flow, which is the most maybe mature and famous one, which allows you to use Java for building UIs, web UIs. And the other one is called Vaadin Fusion, which is a new kind of framework that allows you to use TypeScript to develop these same kind of UIs. But we are not going to see much about this last framework, but mostly about like what web components are, what are the standards that make them possible, and how to use them from Java, directly from Java running on the server side. So, and I'm not very theoretical. I'm going to show you guys code mostly, all right? So this is almost the last slide I have. And now I'm going to jump directly into the IDE. I'm going to create a new HTML file so we can play with these technologies, right? Let's call these standards demo or something like that. And here in the body.
Alejandro?
Yep.
One more thing for our follower. So for any question, I suggest everybody to ask and write on the side chat of our social network like YouTube or other Facebook and so, because at the end of the part we collect all the questions for the moment of questions and answers. So write the question in side chat. Bye.
Yeah, very good side note. Remember to ask questions. Well, so let's continue coding this. So I'm going to say this is a web component. And actually, This is not a web component yet. And here I'm going to create a div inside of that. I'm going to create another div maybe with title kind of thing. So let's say Code Garden Roma. And then I'm going to add an image with some source that we are going to take from Code Garden Roma. And some minutes ago, I found that Twitter has a good image that I can use. Actually, let me check that. Yeah, that was the one. So I'm going to copy that URL and put it here. And what else can we do here? Well, let's check how this is looking in the browser. I'm going to put this like that so we can see code and the application at the same time. Okay, I think it's looking all right. Let me maybe zoom in here a little bit. Very good. Now this doesn't look that great in terms of styling, so I'm gonna add a CSS class here, for example, container. And here we add a section style, and for container, I'm gonna do max width of let's say 300 pixels, just to keep things in the same kind of size or width there. We're gonna add a border here of let's pick this color. It doesn't matter, any color will do, at least like 2 pixels or something like that. Solid. And what else can we do here? Let me see. Maybe let's change the font. So font style italic, and maybe text alignment to the center. So let's see how that looks like. All right, it's looking all right. So let's fix the image. The width of this image is going to be 100%, so it doesn't go outside that little box we have here. And there we go. So we have not a web component yet, but something we can play with. But I'd like to add some behavior. So I'm going to do on click, and I'm going to create a new JavaScript function here that's called animate element, and then we pass the element. This makes reference to this element, all right? So now we can create that or define that function, animate element, and we pass the element, good. And the way we're going to do this is I'm just going to make a very silly animation here with CSS. So let's add a class name to this element, animated, that we're going to define here. Animated that follows. So let's do a transform, rotate these 360 degrees. Let's do a transition of 1 second. That's it. So we add that, and when we click that, it kind of rotates in a funny way. Now, if I click again, it doesn't work because we already have the class animate. So what we need to do is actually let me do something here. Maybe let's put this outside so we can see a bit better. Right. So what we need to do is remove this so I can click it again and so forth. So let's try to do that. So one way of doing it is by adding an event listener. That it's called, I think it's on transition, and let's see, if not, we can just Google it. And with the equivalent of Java Lambda expression, it's called the arrow function here in JavaScript, we can do something like this, clean the, like that, clean value, right, in the class name. So let's see if that works. So I can click. Okay, I think it's probably transition end. So now I can click several times. All right, so it's working. All right, so we have, again, another web component, but something that we can convert in a or transform into a web component. So what if we wanted to have these square multiple times in this HTML document or page? We will have to probably go ahead and duplicate this, which yeah, it works, but I mean, it's not great, right? Because we will have to maintain this thing. What if it's in several pages, different files here? It starts to be a very complicated situation. So it's not that great. So that's not a solution, really. So what if instead of that, we could have, so I'm going to comment this out, what if we had something like, well, if you think about it, this is like an animated avatar. So it has an image and a name. So I'm going to call it like that, animated avatar. Where we had that would be much better, right? So this is a web component. This is what a web component looks like. Almost precisely, this is a custom element. So the browser ignores that. So it has no idea what is that. So how can we make it work? It's actually very easy. You have to do two things to make the browser recognize these custom elements. And that's the first standard that we are going to see today, custom elements. So first thing you have to do, create a class, for example, animated avatar that extends HTML element. And the second thing you have to do is use the API or a variable defined here in the DOM, the document object model, right, of the browser. Document model object is the kind of an API that you can use in that browsers implement, and it's implemented in JavaScript. So we use that, and we use this method, define. So we're going to define that element. So we pass the name, copy that from there, and then you pass the name of the class also. So now the browser is not ignoring it, but it is calling this class to create whatever the content is. We're not doing anything. Something important here is that the name of the element, the custom element, needs to have a dash in it. So that way the browser knows, okay, this is not a standard element, so I need to go and check the custom elements that are defined. That's important. So how can we add now things to this HTML element? If we just go and inspect, well, we'll see that there's it's the same I have in the IDE, right? So in the constructor here, and actually I'm going to add a to-do here. It's for myself, fix my. Here we can say, okay, so take for this element, I want to set what's inside this. So in JavaScript, that's inner HTML, and then we can use set HTML like this. So I'm going to cut from here, paste there. Let's format this a bit better. And now that's where it's going to be shown there. Now, if I click it, it doesn't work because it doesn't know what animate element is. Now there's a problem. Well, first let's move this into a method. And I don't need any of that. So a method would be, where is it? Actually, move this. Okay, so here, right? So the problem is that now that when we call this inside this string, right? So the scope is not this class. When I clicked, then the scope is different. So it doesn't call this method necessarily, or it's just not going to call that. So we can use this method, but we can assign an ID image. I'm going to use image here, and then programmatically say, document.get element by ID image, and it's the image. And with that, we can add or say on click it was going to be this dot animate element, which element? Image. So now it should work. Let's see if I didn't make any mistakes. Okay, I made some mistakes. Wouldn't happen here. Oh, I don't know where I moved this over there. That should be outside the class. There we go. So it works now. Good. Let's continue. So remember, this is the first standard. We are using the first standard here custom elements and these class that extends HTML elements. Very nice. Now, what's not so nice is that these are coded there, right? So it'd be nice to have, for example, instead of that, maybe say, let's format this a little bit like that so you can see things better. Title gonna be that, and the image gonna be this over there. So gonna be that, right? So if I refresh, of course, it doesn't work because we're not doing anything with those values, and this doesn't know what to do. So how can we solve that? Well, I'll start with the image because we have the image here. So for the image, what we need to do is set the source attribute, right? So set attribute is one way of doing it. Source, which value? Take this element, we take the value of this attribute now. And this element is this. So this, now we have the animated avatar here, get attribute image, right? Attribute image. Let's see if that works. So now we have the image. Now for title, it's kind of similar. So we need to set an ID here, for example, title. And let's get document that get element by ID. That was title. And for title, we want to set the not an attribute, but the inner text. And again, it's this attribute, this the attribute of this element, which is this class. So this class, or an instance of that class, to be more precise. Get attribute, and it was title. And this one here. This title makes reference to this ID, and this makes reference to that attribute. So let's see if it works. So it works when I broke something. Let's see, what did I do here? Let me see. What did I do? How could I have done that? I only did that, right? Okay. Demo effect. Let's try to find the bug here. Let me see. Document get element by ID, title. And there is only one title here. Inner text. Get attribute title. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing here, but this line seems to be the offending line. Why is that? Why is that? Let me see. Let's inspect here the DOM. We have the title. It's all right. Okay, some formatting stuff. Let's see. So probably when I'm using here, this, here is the problem, I think. No, it's not. This is the opening of the tag. Is there anything weird here? Nothing. Try this. That's here. Yeah, so this is all right. Why is it not working? It's like the image is not in the DOM. What happened? What happened? Any ideas from anybody watching this? This seems not to be working for some reason. I guess welcome to the world of JavaScript. guess the best way to understand what's going on is here. All right, so this seems to be all right. Inside this, we have div with the container. And then we have a div with ID title. That seems to be correct. Okay, for some reason, some under. Here we go. Okay. This is where I meant. Correct? Yeah. All right. Yeah, my bad. I don't know what I did there, but maybe it was the autocomplete stuff. Anyway, so we're back in track now. Good. So we have now the behavior working, so we can reuse this component. So for example, we wanted to do, what can we use here? So I have used maybe Java's Duke. We can use that. So we need to find an image. And I think the OpenJDK is the project that maintains that. And there's a gallery here. So let's try to find an image that we can use. So let's use, I don't know, anything goes. Let's use the thumbs up. Copy image address. Put this back like that. And here. We refresh, and now it shows Duke and not Code Garden Roma. What happened there? So let's try to understand that. So the browser finds this. It kind of creates the first div. Oh, I see in the comments now you were helping me with the problem I had. Thank you. So the first one is using Code Garden Roma, so the Code Garden version, and it goes through this code, finds the element by ID, which is image, which is the one here. It changes that. It uses the tree, so the Code Garden Roma version, and it works. But then it finds this one, and it runs this code again. Get element by ID is going to return the same square here, right? Or same image and title. So it replaces that. So that's what's going on. So how can we solve that? By using the second standard that I'm going to show you today. So instead of setting the inner HTML directly, we are going to attach something called shadow DOM, which is kind of an encapsulated DOM inside this component. It doesn't interfere and shields the CSS styles and everything. So here we can attach shadow DOM, and then we pass a configuration object here, which is mode. And your wheels are going to use open, otherwise you won't be able to use this shadow root. You cannot use it if you set it close. You still can access that through this, but you want to use open all the time, all right? And if we inspect that, this kind of has a little bit like the document would have, right? So we are going to set the inner HTML of that shadow root instead of setting the inner HTML of this. So let's see what happens. So it doesn't work because we are still getting by element by ID from the document, and it's inside a shadow root, so it doesn't find it. So it's actually a good thing. Now it finds it, and it's showing the correct images and the correct titles, but the styles are broken again because we are in a shadow DOM. So let me show you here real quick. Let's inspect this. So if we go to the animated avatar, you'll see now it has a shadow root, and now it has all this DOM, and this is shielded from the other HTML we have on the page, right? So how can we solve the issue with the styles? Well, we need to move these to inside the shadow DOM, and the best way or the easiest way to do it is by just moving the styles over here. See if that works. So I click that, I click this, it works. All right. Very good. So that was shadow DOM. That's the second standard of web components. So just show you maybe to clarify even more. So we have here an H1. Remember that when here, this hello. So if we do an H1 color red, if we didn't have any shadow DOM, it would look red, but if I refresh here, it's still black. So this only applies to H1s in this shadow DOM that we have here, okay? Very good. Perfect, so we have now the two components. Now let's see the last, what is it, a standard of web components. So the other one it's called, or the last one here, it's called HTML templates. So template is just an element, a standard element, template. And I know it's standard because it doesn't have any hash, right, in the name. And there you can put any kind of HTML. But this is not visible. It's not going to be visible here, so you cannot see this anywhere. So by default, a template is not visible. So we can create a template. So instead of creating it here, like in the document or the HTML body of the document, so we can create that using the DOM API. So we can create an element template. We assign this to a variable template. Now template inner HTML going to be, I'm going to move this line over here to the end. What did I do? Did I do that correctly? Let me check. Maybe there's something wrong. I don't want to break this, so let me do it like that. Okay, so it's there, and we are going to set the inner HTML of that template instead of using the shadow root. So now we don't have anything in the shadow root at this moment, but we have moved everything to this template that is not visible by default. So after that, we can use the shadow root and append a template. But we cannot append only template because let's say that's not visible by default. So we need to get the content and clone it. And we clone everything that's inside that node. Now, if we refresh here, it works as before. So there's no difference. We just kind of added the HTML and the shadow DOM in a different way through a template, right? But what we have gained here is the possibility to kind of use more capabilities. So one of those is, for example, the possibility to find slots. And I can give this a name, for example, footer. And the developers who are using these web components, or when I'm using this, so if I go inside the tag, right? Inside that tag, I can add any kind of HTML. I don't know, I can add just a button here. Say to go to the website or whatever, or to see more information, whatever it is. And if we give this slot, we define the slot footer, then this is going to be added right there. Let's see if it works. So here is, so you have the more information button. So that's HTML templates. That's the third standard of web components. So we have covered all of them. Now I added this to do that I forgot to fix in the first, this part of first standard. Let's get a little bit back to the first one, which was custom elements. So if you think about it, if I could have created the animated avatar like this with no attributes, right? No values for those. And then it's going to go through the constructor. It's going to try to get the element by ID inside the shadow root and then set the attribute source by getting the attribute image from the web component or the custom element, which is not there. So it's not going to work. And if we do it programmatically, maybe we just don't know at this point what it is. We have to query a server or whatever in JavaScript. So that would fail. So one way of solving that by using something called the life cycle of the custom elements, or methods of the life cycle methods of these web components. So these are methods defined here, and that we can use to hook our own logic. So one of those is a connected callback. It's kind of a weird name, but well, it works. And it's called when the DOM is added, or the child root is attached to this DOM, right? And I'm going to move these things right there. That's all I'm going to do. And this is not going to affect any behavior. Just wanted to show you that there are some of these available. It's not the best way of doing it, by the way, because if we change later the attributes via JavaScript, then it won't work. But for that, there's another callback or another lifecycle method that you can use. So it's still working. All right. So let's do one last thing here, which is probably we want to move all that JavaScript to a new file. So JavaScript, let's call this animated avatar.js, and paste that there. And here we can say source animated avatar. Let's check that it works. Oh yeah, it works. Now we have very clean HTML document here. It's easier to maintain, right? If we want to change kind of the behavior of this part of the UI. Very good. So as you can imagine, there are components available that are ready for you to use. So if you go to npmjs.com, for example, which is kind of a tool for packaging JavaScript resources, and search for call or picker, you might find that there are web components that are called pickers, right, or implemented as web components. And this one example. So this is how it looks like on the browser, and you use it like that. So it has the dash in the name, of course, because it's a custom component, and kind of similar to what we did, right? You can imagine it requires much more effort to implement this than what I did, but that's the idea. So you have ready to use components. I bet there are even avatars and stuff like that. So there are many of these components. As you can imagine, there are collections of these web components. So Vaadin is an example of such kind of collections. So go to vaadin.com. Let me increase this a little bit for you. You'll find that there are UI components there. So let's go through a couple of them. So you have pretty much everything a business application would need, right? So checkboxes, codes. So what's the idea with this? Well, it offers kind of more functionality than a native checkbox, for example. Combo boxes, for example, if you want to do some lazy loading here or whatever, it has kind of functionality, or it helps you to hook in your own logic to do it. Custom fields, date picker. Date picker, I would dare to say that it's one of the best, maybe the best date picker in the market right now in terms of functionality and features. So let me go to the examples. So the way you use these is the same. Again, just you place it in the HTML document, and that's it. It doesn't matter which framework you are using, if you are using React, Angular, or whatever it is, or if you are using Vaadin Fusion, you can just import it, and you can start using all these components. These are open source components. So, okay, I forgot to show you something, is that I showed you an HTML example, but there is a Java example as well. So the cool thing of Vaadin is that not only it offers all these web components for free, Apache 2.0 license, but it offers also an Apache licensed version of it as a Java. This is Java running on the server side. So instead of using the web components like we did in the example, we can just say new date picker, and then use all the API offers straight there in your ID, Java ID, without having to worry about JavaScript or HTML or anything like that. And there are many of these. Let's get back to the library of components. There are just a lot of them. Email fields, number fields, password fields, text areas, all the things you would need in a business application. Again, upload with multiple files and the possibility to see the progress and cancel uploads. Then you have accordions, anchors, of course, buttons with styles. And the cool thing is that this is not only a library of web components, but a full design system. That means that it includes more than just the components. So they are coherent and they're well documented. And you can change, for example, the blue here with a CSS variable, and it will change the blue here, here, and there, just with the one line of code. So everything, it looks good. And this blue here is going to be changed as well, all that. Context menu, hide or show sections, dialogues, grid's another really powerful component, which have lazy loading and all that. Icons, I don't know how many icons there are, but there are many, so 600 icons, more than 600. Images, items, menu bars, notifications, progress bars, tabs, tree grid, which is also very powerful, and kind of layouts. So all these are free. There are some paid components. This is how the company makes some money, or one of the ways that it makes money. But it's not like you need them or you won't be able to do things with Vaadin if you don't have these. For example, CRUD. So this is just a very convenient way of quickly implementing a CRUD. Moreover, some of them, they're alternatives, free alternatives. I myself have developed a competition of this even when I work for Vaadin. So vaadin.com/directory. Here you find a third-party components. So if you try to search for CRUD, you'll see the official Vaadin CRUD, but I have this one as well. And with these, you can create a CRUD with kind of, in theory, a one line of code. So you can have, for example, a domain model with JPA, let's say, or any other technology, and then you create a new CRUD, you pass a type, you add it to a layout, and then it looks like that. And you, of course, have to connect it to the backend somehow. So this is one of the easiest ways of connecting it. Anyway, so there are many components here. All of them, all the other ones are free. The one I showed you, I just showed you that I developed, is free also. So let's try to use this now in the second part of the. So let's see how we are on time. Okay. Go ahead and create. Let's start here, vaadin.com. So you can just click this get started. If you want to try this later, just play around with it. It's very easy. You click one of the options here and you'll be directed to this kind of project starter thing. You can, if you are using Spring, you can go to startspring.io and add Vaadin right there also. Okay, so that's a very convenient way of doing things. This is a bit more powerful because, in my opinion, for Vaadin, because, well, it depends what powerful means here. But these kind of creates a better POM.xml, so ready for compiling for production, which needs just to pass or activate a profile. Okay, so let's back these to this starter. So here you see the kind of like how the browser would look like. You can change a couple of things to get an idea of how it would look like. So it's responsive, by the way. So when I had it like this, it shows the menu there, whereas I decrease the it's available, hides the menu. And so we have views here. I like to start by actually the last option of this, so I can create or I can configure the name of the project. Let's call this a Vaadin demo. I'm going to use the latest version, which is 18. It's long-term support, but this is the latest, which supports a bit shorter. And then you can use, like I said, TypeScript or Java. I'm a Java guy, so I'm going to select Java. You can set up a database as well. You can add Docker configuration. Let's not do that for this demo. Then you can set the theme, even like a darker version, or select palette. Let's use light just to keep the same kind of colors. And maybe we can change the palette at least. Well, you can customize this. You can change the font, right? I like to use monospace for these presentations because we are all developers, I guess. And I like that it looks like code. So let's use that. Maybe large and rounded, whatever. There, you can play with those. Then here you have the views. And you can add many. For example, you can add kind of the scaffolding for a dashboard or a CRUD, which is this. And this CRUD, you can even, there are example of entities, but you can configure them, right? If you don't need that, and then you want to add some other stuff, it's going to be mapped with JPA. And so forth. So there are many of those. I'm going to delete all of them. So I don't have any. Let's create just an empty view. Let's call this demo. And the URL is demo. So I can go to visualize that view. I go to /demo, right? And that's it. Then I hit download, but I already done it. So I have it here. So we didn't waste too much time on just importing the first compilation of the project. But this is what you get. So the important thing is that, well, you see a bomb.xml. Let's check where it is. Also, you'll see Vaadin bomb, so it includes the kind of dependencies. And this is using right now Spring Boot, which is very aligned with the philosophy of Vaadin. And that's the reason it creates this by default. There are other examples that use CDI, for example, if you prefer to use Jakarta E or plain servlet, no frameworks. But you can use this right at this time. You can use this application, this online tool to create that kind of projects. You can, however, go to vaadin.com/start. And if you scroll down, you'll see the examples with plain Java or CDI, right? And many others that could be good starting points for your own projects. Very good. So, so if I go to localhost 8080, because the app is running already. So I started before I started the presentation. So you see what I create in the start page, right? So let's do this again. Very nice. And the important part here is that, well, we have something called main view, which is all these layouts. It's this kind of image here, this menu, and the header, right? We're not interested in that. We're interested for now just in the view. So it's like in this white area. And it's not much. Let's go through the code. So it's a Java class that extends div. That means there is something, there should be a div here somewhere. Okay, here it is. And the ID is demo view because we are setting the ID here in the constructor. Okay. We have a route and the value is demo. That means that if I go to localhost/demo, I should go to that component, this view. Now, why did it work without that? We have route alias and the value is empty. We could remove this line if we wanted, but well, the starter generates that, so we can access this view with these two routes. We have page title, which is what's shown here and probably here, using reflection in this main view class, which is configured that. So we are decorating this view with that main view. And what else do we have here? I think that's it. Well, we add a new text. That's content placeholder. But we want to do our own thing. So let's remove that. So maybe what we want to do is to replicate the application we did with JavaScript, but this time only with Java. And this is running, again, on the server side. There is no compilation to JavaScript or anything like that. It's just running on the server side. It's rendering web components on the browser. So I'm going to create an H2 because this is kind of an H1. So hello. Then let's create a new paragraph. This is actually a web component or the following. And we would great to have, there are many other components, right? So we can use all the components I showed you in the web page or website. But it would be, what we're interested in now is to, how can I use then, cool, you have a lot of components, but what if I need something super specific like an animated avatar? So you can, something you found online, right? And here, let's go to the other example, the standards demo, and I'm going to copy that. Let me maybe so we can see everything. And image here. Very good. Now this doesn't exist, so we need to create that class. I'm going to create in the same package. So it's right there next to the demo view, animated avatar. And this was the title and the image. So we probably need to import that JavaScript, right? This JavaScript. Copy this file. And here we have a front end directory. It has style, so it maybe makes sense to make a directory for JS resources. I have that there, and we need to import that module. So I think it's JS module. And then it was inside JS and animated avatar JS. So we have now this JavaScript stuff. Now we need to tell it which tag to render. So when we add, let's go to the demo view. When we add the new animated avatar, we add it to this div, right? But it needs to know, okay, I'm going to add that, but tell me what to add, what web component, what tag, what HTML tag to use. And for that, guess what's the name of the annotation? Tag. So animated avatar, right? So it's the tag. Again, let's go back to this tag. All right. So with that, it should show something. Of course, we're not using title and image, so it's not going to work as we want it to work. But let's check that I haven't made any mistakes so far. So yeah, we see the kind of the square there, and even the broken image icon rotating, so it seems to be working. Now let's configure this so that it uses title and image. So let's think about it. What do we need to do here? We need to set, if we go to here, we need to set these and that. So this is an attribute. So first we need to get the element, because this is kind of a component. It's another thing. We need to get the element. So how can we get the element? Well, it cannot be more obvious than get the element, right? Then we need to set this attribute title, for example. So how can we set the title or the attribute? Can be more obvious than set attribute. So title, and then we pass value. And the same for image. It should actually refresh automatically the browser, by the way, when I compile. Yeah, there you go. Without the need to have any plugins or anything. So pretty cool. We have now the tree over there, and it works. How about the slot? Remember we had the slot here. How can we make it work? So let's say we want to pass a Vaadin button this time. What did we have? That more information. Replicate exactly the same. Of course, it doesn't exist. So let's create but automatically without put here. So any component footer. So now again, this is a Vaadin component. So we need to add the element. How can we get the element from the footer? Get element, and we need to add that the element. So we kind of send a child here. That's not all, because we need to get the footer and set or get the element again and set an attribute. Why? Because we need to set this slot. So slot, it's going to be footer. And if I can type correctly and remove lines and compile, let's see if that shows any kind of button here. Let's see if it reloads automatically. Yeah, it actually does. Okay. So now we have the more information button here, and we can add any kind of click listener or stuff. It's not like you have to do all these JavaScript and stuff with Vaadin. This is just an example of how to add a custom component. So now the possibilities are endless, right? Because you can take pretty much any JavaScript resource and add it into a Vaadin application. But there are many powerful components here. So we already saw one, but some of them, but just to see them in action. So for example, we can have text field with the name of a person, and a box with feedback, let's say, and a couple of options. So for example, good talk, boring talk. Now again a button. Let's see how we use the button and send this feedback. So to make it work, we can define a lambda expression here. And for example, let's do it like this. Let's create a new method, send feedback. Now we'll need the values in these fields. So I'm gonna close this feedback. I'm going to assign those to a new variable or new variables, so I can use them here. And how do I get the value? Well, get value, and then the same for feedback. Get value. Let's create that method here. This was name, and that was feedback. And here we can do whatever we want. So for example, we could inject a service with Spring or CDI, or call it through a factory method, whatever it is. And for example, I'm not gonna really do it right now, service, but so you get the idea of service, although it's pretty clear. Send feedback, and then you send those variables there, right? And this service use anything Java, because we are on the server side already. So it's anything Java, JPA, JOQ or Uke, iBuddies or MyBuddies, I think it's called nowadays. Whatever you want to use for persisting this, or call a REST service, or connect to any kind of external system. For the purposes of this demo, we are just going to show, let's keep that command maybe there. After that, we can show a notification that says, thanks, name, and we're going to show the feedback. Right. Let's see if that works. Some compiling. And I think, I hope I didn't make mistakes with that code. Let's see if we can see all those components here now. There we go. So we have those. Now buttons next to that. You can arrange this with CSS if you want to, but let's leave it like that. So for example, let's say, John said this was a really boring talk, so he sends that. Thanks, John, boring talk. Now it's maybe saved in a database and activated any kind of services. But there was Maria, and she said it was an amazing talk, but she couldn't find that option here, so she went with a good talk option and sent it. Thanks, Maria. And I guess that's what I wanted to show you today. So we saw what web components are, how to make them possible with 3 standards, how to use these components from Java, server-side Java, how to create a wrapper for that component, and how to create a very simple Vaadin application without having to write any JavaScript. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to help you with those. You are on mute, I believe.
You are on mute is the sentences of the 2020. So very interesting. So I have some questions about web component, but web components are web components standards, HTML standard or not?
Yes, they are. So for example, when I was coding this part here, and I was trying to how to complete custom elements. You can see this comes from the document object model, which is a standard maintained by the organization that maintains all these other standards, such as HTML, W3 consumption.
W3C.
Yeah. So
okay.
So it's all of them. All of these things are standard. You cannot see any import of any JavaScript framework at all. I used plain JavaScript here, so yes, it is a standard.
Yeah. And okay, second question: are Vaadin component written as web components?
Yeah, that's a good point that I forgot to show you. So if I inspect this text field, so first let's go here. This new text field, I added it to the div, right? So if I inspect that, you'll see that it's a Vaadin text field, and it has dash and dash. So this is a web component with a shadow root. So all of these components are, or UI components are web components as well. Yes.
I think that are all web components after Vaadin 10. Before these were GWT components or other kinds of. So
that is correct. Before Vaadin 10, which was Vaadin 8, it was all about JavaScript components using a GWT, implemented with GWT, which GWT is a kind of it's a toolkit. It's not only a framework because it has some tools, and in particular, it has a compiler. So it takes your Java code and compiles that into JavaScript, which is not what Vaadin does. What Vaadin does is it's sending JSON messages that we could even inspect using the tools of the browser, and it says like, "Hey, I'm ready. So what should I show in the browser? Show the following web components," and it shows that. And then when I click here, it sends a message saying like, "Button number 5 was clicked. You do whatever you have to do, server." And the server finds out that there was a click listener register for that button, calls my code here. So that's what's going on. Then it returns another JSON message that says, "Hey, after all the logic are on here, they want you to show a notification with this text." That's it. So it's very lightweight.
Okay, very lightweight. Okay, and my last question is: could web components replace the component system logic of framework like Angular?
I think they should add support for using. I'm not sure if I think React is adding support for web components, but as far as it's using them, like what I did here in this HTML document, you just need to import the resources that make this custom element to work. So pretty much any web framework supports web components.
Okay. React, Angular, so
yeah. Now, if you can make web components with this framework, that's a different story. But you can use them. You just have to import the HTML. There might be it depends on what kind of web component it is, I guess. But it should be possible in theory, at least.
Okay. And so, Enzo, do you hear me?
Eccomi. There it is.
Okay.
I am here and switch in italiano per dirvi. Alejandro, please take a selfie with the link in the come si dice nella parte di giù. Oddio mio.
In the footer of the
in
view.
the bottom part of the screen. Okay. This is a lottery. The lottery, we have a license of JetBrains and a lottery with your selfie, with the selfie or your face. Okay.
So we invite every follower, every viewer to connect to this lottery to try to
Great.
It's kind of visible, I think.
The prize of the lottery is a subscription for JetBrains products, any products, I think, and also maybe the subscription for 1 year of about 600 euros, I think. Is correct, Enzo? 600 euro?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have also the QR code, so it's more easy to participate. 1 second, I share my screen. And there is. I hope it's the right screen.
Are there any other questions? No, I think
no. 1 second. Ho sbagliato lo schermo, un secondo. Allora, chiedo scusate a tutti quanti di partecipare, quindi vi chiedo di collegarvi al link qui sotto. Ci sono dei problemi tecnici, l'applicazione è in beta, quindi abbiamo dei problemi di condivisione, un attimo solo. Nel frattempo che si aggiunge qualcuno, perché se siamo solo in 2 siamo pochini, ok?
Ho vinto già io.
Hai vinto. C'è giusto Mattia collegato, che tra l'altro è, diciamo, la persona di The Community Space. Lo faccio apparire, che dici? Lo salutiamo? Lo faccio apparire a schermo? Eccolo. Mattia, con cui stiamo sviluppando appunto The Community Space. Sì, buonanotte. La lotteria di The Community Space. Oggi proprio è una giornata strana.
Quindi Mattia è lo sviluppatore della selfie lottery.
Ci proviamo, dai.
Ok.
Comandato
Bravo.
purtroppo da me. Come sono come capo? Ok.
Approvi sempre tutto, quindi va bene.
Ecco la finestra giusta. Alejandro, Mattia is the developer that I had to develop this application. Okay. If you want to participate, please use the QR code on the screen. Okay.
I'm actually trying, but it's not working for sure. Oh, now it worked.
Ok.
So what should I do?
Faccio pure io il selfie e facciamo questo beta test. Sono tutti timidi oggi. Come mai? Incitare un po' tu la tua community, Ezio.
Vabbè, chi vuole può partecipare. Poi, ovviamente, sicuramente, magari tutti quanti hanno IntelliJ già sottoscritto e quindi magari non interessa. I prodotti sono tanti, mi pare, che si possono prendere, o IntelliJ, PyCharm e un po' tutti quelli altri di JetBrains nella subscription.
Allora faccio la foto e poi lo facciamo comunque il sorteggio, vai.
Sì, proviamolo, dai, e vediamo come esce, su.
Ok, dai, sono arrivati un po' di volti, ok? Ci siamo, allora, siete pronti?
Ok, let's start.
Mattia, la colpa è tua, non arrivano i volti. Abbiamo un problema, facciamo il classico refresh, che fa sempre così bene. Nulla, abbiamo un problema, non arrivano i volti, ragazzi.
Va bene, allora faremo un sorteggio, diciamo, offline.
Allora, facciamo così, scusate, io qui ho 1, 2, vabbè, eccetto noi abbiamo Michele, abbiamo Cosimo, abbiamo Alejandro, Enzo, Mattia ed Ezio. Farò un sorteggio a mano, va bene?
L'unica cosa, vediamo come fare in modo ci sono i nomi e cognomi di tutti?
Sì, abbiamo le mail, facciamo le mail. Vabbè, possiamo farlo, facciamo così. Ezio, sorteggia un numero randomico e io li conterò da 1 a 12, così facciamo 2 giri. Vai.
7.
Allora, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ho vinto io, quindi un altro numero.
9. Cioè faccio io il randomizzatore della serata.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 e 9. Vince Cosimo Gozzi, che ci sta seguendo. C'ho la sua email. Quindi ha vinto Cosimo. Fine. Alejandro,
Perfetto.
sorry, there are
Okay.
some bugs. It's
Compliment to
Mattia is
Cosimo.
the developer of this application.
You need to use Vaadin. It would have been much easier to implement this application.
Ok. Mattia, hai sentito? Dovresti sfruttare Vaadin per implementare l'applicazione, magari andrebbe meglio. Poi non lo so con che cosa l'hai fatta. Ok.
Vabbè, vai, chiudi tutto tu. Grazie mille a tutti. Io saluto. Grazie Alejandro. Thanks.
Allora,
Grazie mille.
Thank to Alejandro, very great developer, software engineer, and speaker for us. And I hope for a next meetup in the future, if you want. And so I suggest to all to sign to the our channel like LinkedIn group. So follow us over several social channel, and invite other friends to the group. So okay, these are these are all the steps. Okay, so again, thanks to Alejandro, and have a good dinner for all. And I think that this has been a great talk.
Thanks for having me, and I hope to do it again.
Okay, so Enzo, bye to all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye bye.